Okay, this is part one of Parkinson's disease 2025. Here's the book. I'm sort of doing a mini book review of this book, Parkinson's Plan, and then I'll add some additional information. It was written by these two guys, Michael Okun and Ray Dorsey. Okay, and I just want you to see, now don't get me wrong, this is actually a good book, and these are both smart guys, and they know a lot. Okay, so the book is worth reading. But I also want to make a couple points about what you can expect. These guys I would describe as like the cream of the crop, the top of conventional medicine. Okay, by that I mean they're intelligent, they're logical, they're articulate, and they're true experts in conventional medicine in their field. But I want you just to see their disclosures because this is typical. So the first guy's name is Ray Dorsey, and I think he's of Indian descent. And he brags that he's a member of McKinsey Company. Now, the reason I want you to know about McKinsey Company is they're famous for going around promoting racism in the United States. They basically have training seminars and they do not allow white men to attend. Okay? This is gross racism. This is communism. This would be like being a member of the KKK. But this is considered acceptable in the United States because the white Christian man has been demonized. And the way it all works is there's billionaires that run the world, okay? And they've decided they want to bring back slavery and reduce the numbers of the population. The only way they can do that effectively, long term, is they have to get rid of the white Christian men. Because the white Christian men are the ones that promoted the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, so they have to go. Okay, this has been in writing for many decades, okay? And all you dumb shits don't know this, but this is well known, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, it's considered acceptable to be a member of an organization and literally, put it in your book to be proud of it. That's goal is the genocide of white Christian men. Okay? This is well known. There's been tons of articles and writing about this. Okay? It's not a mystery. And what I'm trying to say is it would be like somebody in the Soviet Union, bragging about getting rid of kulaks. Okay? This is considered acceptable in our modern society. And then he's getting, some type of benefits from about at least 10 companies. AbbVie, Biohaven, Biosensic, Ceravance, Deacons, and all of them are perfectly fine with him being a member of McKinsey, okay? And being proud of it, okay? Okay, think about that. And also, let me just tell you something. All this minority stuff, it's not true. And what I mean by that is I'm a minority. I'm a Puerto Rican, okay? I'm probably the smartest Hispanic doctor in the whole world. Lots of people know I've had over 5 million views on my YouTube channel, over 1 million views on my other channels where I've been interviewed. And guess what? Not one minority company has ever asked me to teach study skills to minority students. Not one has ever asked me to help with healthcare for anyone, yet alone minority areas. What I'm trying to say is these organizations that pretend to be interested in minorities, they don't care about minorities. What they want is minority puppets to put them into positions of power so they can use them to screw over white Christian men. That's what it's all about. Because if they actually cared about hiring talented minorities, they would hire me. I would have nonstop phone calls, and I can tell you, I have zero. I never had one, okay? No one's ever came up to me and said, yeah, we know you're a brilliant minority. By the way, when I was in med school, I won the Martin Luther King Award as the best minority student. I was first in my class, okay? I would have won any academic award. But I'm letting you know, this is what's going on. This is all part of an attempted, just like the genocide of the kulaks and other ethnic groups, this is part of, cow, and then the moon, and then the east. This is what this is, all right? So anyways, all these companies, Genentech, Biopharma, Health and Wellness Partners, HMP Education, Mitsubishi Tanabe Pharma, Novartis Pharma Company, Sanofi, I don't even know what it is, probably a pharma company, Selos Therapeutics, sounds like pharma, grants from Veritas Pharma, Biogen, Roche, I think that's a pharma company, Photopharmics. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, these guys could never, ever criticize drugs. He's in bed with all these pharmaceutical companies, okay? Now here's the other guy, Michael Okun. Okay, now he's done a lot of work. He's a hardworking guy, 600 peer-reviewed publications. When I used to hear peer-reviewed publications, I used to think that meant it's a good journal, but it doesn't. Peer-reviewed means they don't allow anything that goes against their mission, okay? The typical journal is designed to sell drugs. They get their advertising money from drug companies, okay? So anybody who doesn't do what drug companies want, they're not allowed in that journal. I can tell you, journals would not allow me to publish my ideas about the brain or the spine, all right? They don't, what are you gonna do? Talk about this low-fat vegan crap? Where's the money in that? That's going to take money away from drug sales. They're not interested. It's going to take money away from surgical device sales. They're not interested. Okay? He's a medical advisor to a Parkinson's foundation. So when you first hear something like that, you think, oh, that's good. He's working with the foundation to cure Parkinson's. Let me ask you something. What would happen to that foundation if there was a cure for Parkinson's? The foundation would go broke. All of these foundations are bogus. I've never seen a real one in my life because they have a fundamental conflict of interest. If the patients actually get better, they lose money. And that's a common thing in conventional medicine. There's no profit in curing a patient. A curing patient doesn't need the health system. Okay? Research grants and stuff. It's nice that they're trying to study it, but remember a New England Journal of Medicine, Neurology, JAMA Neurology. Well, those are drug dealers' journals. This is not, see, everybody thinks drug medicine is real medicine. Drugs don't work very well. There's some that do. Levodopa is a pretty good medicine for Parkinson's, okay? But the vast majority of drugs really don't do much or are more harmful than beneficial. But if you're going to be in this business, you got to sell drugs. If you don't sell drugs, then you're going to get booted out by all the big players. And these are the big players, big name journals, big name pharma companies, okay? Did some work for WebMD, MSCATE, and then he's a member of an institute that gets device and drug donations. Okay, so like I said, they're both bright guys and they do know a lot. And I actually think it's a good book. It's as good a book as you could see written by conventional medicine. So I realized though while I was reading it, there was a lot of stuff they either don't know or they're not willing to say. So I figured it'd be worthwhile for me to give this talk and talk about a bunch of additional stuff. Okay. All right, so here's one picture of McKinsey. They champion diversity. When they champion diversity, what they mean is screw Whitey. Okay, Whitey is not allowed to even attend their management training meetings. So what they were trying to do is set it up at all these corporations. There's tons of articles about this, that the whites were not allowed to attend executive training. So they were never allowed to become promoted. I mean, how racist is that? Okay, I mean, that's about as racist as it gets. Can you imagine if the meeting said, they used to, I'm half Irish too. There used to be no Irish need apply. Okay, how would they like it if it said no Muslims are allowed, no blacks are allowed, no women are allowed? Everybody would be outraged. But because it's no white men are allowed, it's like they say, that's what they say. Well, F you white men, okay, you can't go. That's completely racist and unfair, okay? There should be meritocracy. Let's just hire the most talented people. Who's the best person, If it's mathematics, whoever, does the best on the mathematic tests, challenges, quizzes, they should be promoted and hired. It should be like that for everything to the extent you can make it a meritocracy. Why not? We do that in sports. We take the best players for our professional team so they win, but we're supposed to not allow one ethnic group? Okay, and spare me this, historical justice, okay? It's the Catholic Church was a bunch of white Europeans, men, and they built almost everything that we consider modern civilization, literally almost everything. Okay, all these other countries, they just copy the technology of Western civilization, okay? All right, so anyways, here's a painting from Ivan Vladimirov of the Soviets. What do? They have to get rid of Christianity because it promotes freedom and it promotes real equality of rights. Equality of achievement depends on the individual, but equality of rights should be granted to everyone. So anyways, this is the Catholic Church clergy the Christian church put into slavery, okay, in the Soviet Union. And that's what's coming again. In Soviet Union, they burnt down 48,000 churches. They, KI, then comes LL, then ED, 65 million Christians, okay? And that's what's coming all over the world. And it's so obvious, okay? To me, this is like 1 + 1 = 2, all right? And this guy is sitting there bragging about being part of an organization to promote all this, okay? And people find that acceptable. Okay, now getting back to Parkinson's, I had to give that little rant after I saw that he was bragging about being part of, McKinsey, the modern KKK. All right, so here's dry cleaning business. And dry cleaners are like leprosy, okay? When I say they're like leprosy, what I mean is you want to stay as far away from dry cleaners as you can. They're bad, all right? And that'll become more obvious as this talk goes along. The chemicals are very toxic. So what's Parkinson's disease about? The substantia nigra comes from the midbrain right here in the brain. This is part of the brain stem. This is the medulla. This is the pons. And this is the midbrain. And this little area here that's black is called the substantia nigra. So substantia just means like substance. Nigra means black. Okay, normally it has like a little swallowtail on it if you look at it on a brain MRI. Okay. when it's rounded, then that looks suggestive of Parkinson's. Okay, that sign is not that useful because the main sequence we look for it on very often has artifacts and you can't really tell. Okay, but anyways, just be aware it's the dopamine neurons in the midbrain substantia nigra are the ones that are depleted in Parkinson's disease. Here's two really important chemicals for causing Parkinson's disease. The one you hear about the most is TCE, trichloroethylene. And, tri means three. There's three chlorines. 1, 2, 3. Ethylene is just the two carbons attached to each other by a double bond. Okay, now more often people are starting to hear about perchloroethylene. So per in biochemistry, in organic chemistry means like 4. So there's 4 chlorines. Perchloro, 4 chlorines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same amount of base ethylene alkyl group. Okay, so anyways, these chemicals are soluble in fat. So they can be stored in fat, and their solubility in fat increases traversal of the blood-brain barrier. So they get into the brain and cause brain damage and cause Parkinson's disease. Okay, a few additional words about TCE. It's used by dry cleaners, used for cleaning metals to remove grease from them, a lot of aerosol cleaning products, making refrigerants, carpet cleaners, shoe polish, liquid paper, cleaning wipes. I hate cleaning wipes, all right? Making semiconductors, electronic products. And again, now they're using perchloroethylene. They often call it perc more often in the dry cleaners. Okay, it's toxic to mitochondria. Perc is also toxic to mitochondria. And a good rule of thumb, anything that smells bad is bad for you. Okay. I don't know why I had Steve Racer. I thought that was a joke in the past. I forgot what that joke was about. I'm too lazy to watch that video again. Trichloroethylene, invisible cause of Parkinson's. Trichloroethylene, inhibiting complex 1 mitochondrial neurotoxicity. That's an important point. It's a mitochondrial toxin. Here's another paper. Mitochondrial toxin, neuronal apoptosis in Parkinson's disease. Okay. So here's just another picture of the structure without the color coding there. All right, so here, why did I say that dry cleaners are like leprosy? Here's why I said it, meaning that they should be avoided. And I'm just using that as a historical, metaphor. So here is a dry cleaner next to an apartment building. And so what happens is the dry cleaner chemicals, they go through walls, and then they will ascend upward. And so they basically contaminate whatever building is next to them. If it goes out into the air, then it's diluted. It's no big deal. Okay. Other companies have built what are called dry wells, and they throw all their pollutants down into the dry well, including these chemicals like TCE and PCE, trichloroethylene, perchloroethylene. But they pass out of the dry wells. They get into the groundwater, then they get into people's drinking water. It's another reason why you want to filter your drinking water. Okay. And in addition, for example, if the dry cleaner is next to the grocery store, you don't want to go to that grocery store because it'll go through the wall, it'll get into the grocery store, it'll actually get into the food. Not good. Factories will spew out some of these types of chemicals and related chemicals. So, but basically, whenever you see dry cleaner, just turn around and go the other way. All right. Make sure you filter your water. There's all kinds of bad things in your water, from F- to aluminum to all these toxic chemicals, these pesticides, these estrogenics. If you don't filter your water, you're missing a big opportunity to improve your health, and you're pulling yourself in a net. So it's not a neutral option. If you don't filter your water, you're damaging your health. If you do filter your water, you can there's one more problem that you avoid, but it's a big deal. Okay, that's the end of part 1. I hope you found that helpful. I think this is going to be 4 parts. So I'll have the other parts coming up real soon.